All right, so today we're going deep on a book that's kind of a big deal in the business world, Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Yeah, definitely a classic.
You've probably seen it around. It's all about how companies go from being just okay to, you know, truly great and sticking around.
And not just surviving, but thriving, right?
Exactly. And what we want to do is sort of pull out the really valuable stuff, the stuff that anyone can use no matter what they're working on.
Yeah, the timeless principles.
So we're going to be looking at the main concepts from the book itself. And I guess the first one that jumps out is level 5 leadership.
Right off the bat.
And when you think of like a powerful leader, you might picture someone super charismatic, right? Always in the spotlight.
The big personality.
But Collins found something a little bit different. He's talking about leaders who are actually pretty humble, almost quiet.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But they have this intense focus on the company's success. Like, it's way more important than their own ego.
They're not in it for the glory.
A real company first kind of thing. What's the key takeaway there?
It's not about being a pushover. You know, Collins found that this humility comes from a place of deep confidence. It's like their ambition is all about the company's success, not their own personal spotlight.
I see.
That's level 5 in a nutshell.
Okay, that makes sense. And then that kind of leader probably sets the stage for the next big idea. First who, then what?
Yeah, this one's a bit of a challenge.
Because it goes against that urge to like have a plan figured out right away.
Right, get the strategy down first.
Collins says, nope, you gotta get the right people on the bus and maybe some of the wrong people off the bus.
Before you even decide where you're going.
The team is what makes things happen.
Exactly. His research shows that a great team can adapt to pretty much any strategy.
Makes sense.
But even the best strategy will fail if you have the wrong people trying to execute it.
So it's all about building that strong foundation first.
Yeah, even if it means taking a little more time to get started.
All right, now here's one that has a bit of an interesting tension to it. Confront the brutal facts, yet never lose faith.
Yeah, that's a powerful one.
So it's about having the guts to face reality even when it's tough, but also holding on to that belief that you can succeed in the end.
How do you balance those two things?
They seem kind of opposite. How do you make that work?
You can't let the brutal facts completely stop you in your tracks.
Right.
But you also can't let blind faith lead you to ignore important problems.
Yeah, you need both.
Greatness comes from using those tough truths to figure out a better way forward, and always believing that you can find solutions and make progress.
It's like being realistic, but also optimistic at the same time.
Yeah, clear-eyed, but still hopeful.
Okay, I like that. And we get to the hedgehog concept.
Yeah, one of the most famous ones.
And it's not about being like a clever fox who knows a little bit about everything.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
It's about figuring out the one thing you can be the absolute best at in the world.
Right, what you were made to
What
do.
really drives your business and what you're truly passionate about.
The sweet spot where all three of those things come together.
That's the hedgehog.
And a lot of people get tripped up here because they mistake a goal for their best at thing.
I can see that.
Collins is really specific. It's not just what you want to be good at. It's what you can do better than anyone else consistently over time.
Okay, so you've got the right leader, you've got the right people, you're facing reality, and you've found your hedgehog.
You're in a good spot.
But to make all that work, you need what Collins calls a culture of discipline.
Yeah, this one's not about being super strict or micromanaging everything.
Right, it's more about creating an environment where people are self-motivated and responsible.
It's like a balance of freedom and responsibility.
So people are disciplined in their thinking, disciplined in their actions, and they all kind of hold each other accountable to a high standard.
Exactly. They have autonomy,
Right.
but within clear boundaries, everyone's on the same page.
And what about technology? Because that's constantly changing things up.
Yeah, it's a huge factor these days.
Collins talks about technology accelerators, and his point is that technology is important, but it should support your existing strengths.
It shouldn't be the main strategy itself.
Right, it's a tool to help you move faster, but only if you're already headed in the right direction.
Like putting a bigger engine in a car that's already pointed towards your destination.
Okay, and finally, he uses this analogy of the flywheel versus the doom loop.
Oh yeah, this was great for visualizing things.
So the flywheel is this idea that when you put in consistent effort that's aligned with your core principles, it starts to build momentum over time.
Like pushing a giant heavy wheel, it gets easier and easier to turn.
And eventually it leads to a breakthrough. The doom loop, on the other hand, is when you're constantly restructuring and chasing the next big thing without really gaining any traction.
It's like you're always starting over, never building on what you've already done.
So what's the takeaway for someone who feels like they're stuck in that doom loop?
I'd say it's about recognizing the power of sustained, focused effort.
Hmm.
Real progress rarely happens overnight. It's the result of consistent pushes in the same direction. And a lot of times that doom loop comes from not having a clear hedgehog concept.
Right. You're not sure what you should be focusing on.
And you end up reacting to things instead of proactively building something great.
So to kind of wrap things up, we've talked about a lot here. Level 5 leadership, getting the right people on board, facing the facts with optimism, the hedgehog concept, a culture of discipline, using technology as an accelerator, and the power of the flywheel.
A lot to think about.
And they all kind of work together. It's not just one thing.
So now it's time to put it into practice.
Right. Think about what this means for you.
If you were to apply these ideas, what's one brutal fact that you or your organization needs to confront? And what might your hedgehog concept be? What are you truly best at? What drives your success? And what are you passionate about? Finding that sweet spot is where the real journey begins.
That's a great question to leave everyone with. Thanks for breaking all this down.
You got it.
And thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
See you next time.